Oh, restrooms. I remember when we first picked out this sign. It took us 3 weeks, you know. It was found in a little third-party shop down in Afghanistan. All pieces and rust. And brought it up here and consecrated it. We have a pope. We consecrated it and put up the little symbols. Originally, we were wondering if we should put 2 guy symbols there, or like 2 girl symbols, and then we were like, no. Equality. 1 girl, 1 guy. And that's, well, it's got a bit more story to it. I mean, the original idea, the concept for the sign itself, was born in 1969. And we actually got John Lennon to approve it. He came in, and we showed him the sketches and the original thesis papers. We had a couple, 50 or so, not really that much. But, and so, yeah, 1969, John Lennon looked over the theses, and he said, "Look, mates, I like where you're going with this, but you need to keep on going, and don't stop." And then he walked out the door, and, you know, it really moved us. It inspired us. And so, after a long and heartfelt prayer of 3 weeks' time, Joe Duke actually received a vision from the Lord Jesus Christ himself. And Jesus said, "Lo and behold, thou shalt have a sign, and it shall say, restrooms." And so after that, it was pretty much final. The plans were drawn up, the blueprints, and we had a couple contractors on the scene. It was a big building project. It lasted until 1997, I want to say, somewhere around there. Around the summer of 1997, around like late summer. So it was pretty close to 1998, and the sign was finished. We put the final paintings on it, and that's the history of the restrooms sign. Do you remember this, Vince? Do you remember? I remember when we first came up with the concept. Because originally, and you probably remember this, you were the one who suggested the idea, you were saying, we need a way for people to get into the church, to really get into it. And so, we thought, well, we should have like a big hole or something, some sort of like entryway, so that people can come inside in a physical sense. And then we thought, well, what if somebody comes in and they're not supposed to? Well, we thought we should put doors on the point. Big, like wooden blocks or like metal blocks, something to guard the way, like Jesus guards our hearts. And then we thought, you know, but something needs to open up this door. And that's when Joe Duke suggested that we use doorknobs. It's so symbolic, isn't it? I mean, in the same way that these doorknobs open up these doors, the entryways into the church, Jesus acts as our doorknob, opening us up into the love of Christ. Doesn't it just make you smile? So many memories, you know. This brick here. Do you remember it, Lance? Because I do. Summer of 1984. Blistering summer. We're all gathering around by the lakeside, talking to President Reagan. Former. And the moments we had. The jet skiing and the rock throwing. The brick picking. And we picked this one brick in particular. We were talking to Reagan, and he was saying, oh well,
Nancy and I think that it'd be a grand idea if we picked a brick out to put in your church. And we said, well, Reagan, it sure is a wonderful idea, but no. And so we picked this brick out on our own after having kicked the president out. Oh, that was fun. Good office here. It was a delicious year. But we picked this brick out of all the bricks because it just seemed to call to us. Do you remember? We saw all of them sitting there. We said, this one. We want this one. So that summer, sweltering summer of 1984, we all sat together around this brick and we prayed. We said, Lord, may this brick be exalted on high, that none might ever be wronged by this, that it would be a force for justice and right and penguins. So we chose that.
This trash can was originally from the trash raiders of 1874. And originally, I thought it was a ridiculous idea to bring it to LifePoint Church, but now here we are in the hallway with the trash can itself. Something so amazing that you can walk by it and throw trash in it. I respect the man who changes this trash can, because honestly, this trash can is a complete win. However, due to this trash can's awesomeness, I must say that it is very old. The age of this trash can is affecting its awesomeness slowly, but it still is pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong. I think.
You're gonna miss this, Lance. Beautiful, beautiful work of machinery. I'm amazed that they could even come up with something quite like that. I never would have thought of it. I mean, just look at it. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? That majestic, beautiful red glow. So faint, but still there. Still shining in the otherwise dull and kind of mellow color that's around it. Sort of like Jesus Christ, in a way. I mean, it shines out to those who are stuck where they are, to those who cannot move on, and it calls, just as Christ calls, like, sort of beautiful and lilting in a way. And it tells us your time has come. There is a place that you can move to. You can ascend or descend. But it's just so beautiful, symbolic, isn't it? The original idea for the light was discovered and come up with in 1943. And we looked at it and we said, this is a wonderful idea, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But how are we going to make it work? See, we hadn't discovered electricity back then in 1943. And Bill Gates was working with us at the time. He was the lead wizard on the job. And so we looked at it and we said, this is a beautiful idea, but we need something to power it. Something to move it. Like God's love moves our movement. And Bill Gates looked at us and said, Avada-kedavra! And then he invented light and electricity. And it was beautiful. And, oh life, I love you so. Lance, of all the things you're going to miss in this church, post the Alaska Day right here gonna be number one. Numero uno. No question about it. No, sir. I mean, all the memories that we had with this. Back in 1938, when you weren't here yet, and I was about 60 years until I was born. Do you remember how this thing would stand proudly on the assembly line with its elasticies, its plasticky face, and its pole, its proud pole? It would stand in the sunlight, phosphorescent light, and it would say, "I belong to LifePoint Church. Maybe not now. Maybe not for about 60 years. But one day."
The red scanner thing, as some people would call it. The HID red scanner was originally invented by James Bond himself. We had him come in LifePoint Church himself and install it. It's all part of our security here at LifePoint Church, and an important part indeed. So, I would love to show you how it works, but there's not really much to see because once you walk past it, it literally scans your awesomeness. Now, originally Lance Birch approved a patent for this, and James Bond himself came to install it. I'm rather jealous of it. Well, for obvious reasons, as you know, I can't go past this line, or I would die. But, you know, I can go under it like this, and I'm good. So this hallway is completely monitored 24/7, just in case you'd like to know. I gotta go.
Sally. Over here, we have Sally's sister, Sally the second, Sally's brother, Sally. Over here, we have Sally's father and mother, Sally and Sally. Fortunate series of circumstances has seen the family in a dire state. They were up against the wall, quite literally. And it came to the point where they became paintings. The great disc pods of Catbat. How I love to remark upon its unique colors and the texture and the taste and its marvelous ability to float in the air with nothing but its own magical powers sustaining it. Some actually theorize that the faint string that holds right above it is actually the reason as to why it floats, and that it's not levitating, and that we're quite silly to believe in magic. But I say that since we burned those people alive, they're not laughing now, are they? Now, originally, I recall when these were first created, back in 1780. It was a year many, many ago. Wonderful time of youth and innocence. I was but a young lad with a beard of only 3 feet. I love to remark upon those days with such vigorous memory. But those days are no longer here. It's unfortunate, really. Now, I do recall the maker of such strange devices. Originally, when we asked him how he had come up with the concept, he had told us, "I've been banging on 7-gram rocks." It's a very strange moment. He then proceeded to tell us a lot about how he was winning. We asked him what the game was, but he wouldn't respond. And more so about how his wife, who had unfortunately taken the children, or fortunately, that was very strange, about how his wife had drinking the blood of a tiger. But back to the disc he somehow came up with the concept and drew it up. And originally we didn't really like the idea, but we kind of grew in it. And as the years went by, several hundred years, it really stuck, and it became a motto of the church. How we float above the rest of the world, but still we are able to give to it. That's right, Light.